All right, everyone, welcome to today's webinar. I appreciate you joining us, and hopefully you've been following our webinar series and coming back and checking out what's new and joining on a weekly basis or bi-weekly, I think we're up to now. As we start moving into the summer, I know we usually change it up a little bit where everyone's availability is a little bit different, so we may switch to just a monthly webinar or bi-weekly. So please visit our site and check those series out. All right, so today's topic, battling for resources. Can't we all just get along? So hopefully you'll get a giggle out of that. My name is Laura Crawford, and I'll be your facilitator for today's webinar. Okay, so today's agenda, we're going to go through some brief introductions, a little bit about PPM Works and myself. We'll get into an overview of resource engagements. We'll talk about how to create and submit those engagements, approving, rejecting, and editing engagements. And also we're going to demo. So we're going to do this from two perspectives. First, we're going to talk about why this is so important and some of the struggles that we've been hearing from our customers and our clients. And then we'll take a look at from the project manager side. And then we'll also jump into the role of resource manager. So we'll see it from both angles there. I'm not going to cover administrative tasks that are involved in getting this set up, but I will point a few things out to you. Once again, my name is Laura Crawford. I'm a senior PPM specialist. So I actually am responsible for going out and gathering requirements, configuring your system, creating Power BI reports as needed, also training and creating training materials, and deploying Project Online or Project Server to clients. So I've been doing this for over 8 years. I do drink from the well, which means I create projects in Project Professional. I actually update those schedules. Today's Friday, so by the end of today, I need to submit my timesheet so that the project managers can update their project schedules and accordingly. So we actually live, eat, and breathe in this tool, which is very important. It's very important that we do that so that when customers engage us and we go out and we gather requirements, we know the questions to ask, we know how the tool behaves, and we can make some suggestions on best practices. Our processes are to not try and wrap your processes around a tool, but vice versa. Let's design and configure the tool to support your existing processes and help you continue to develop those from there. A little bit about PPM Works. We are a gold certified partner. We focus on Microsoft Project, SharePoint, and Office 365. All right, so these are a sampling of some of our customers. We've actually deployed, over 225 project server and online implementations. Our staff has also sat in and been asked by Microsoft to help create those certification exams. So hopefully you won't hold that against us if you tried to take some of those certification exams for Project Server or for Microsoft Project Professional. We all have taken all of those exams. So I myself, going back to 2007, 2010, 13, and 16, so all the Microsoft Project and the configuration exams around those. So we are certified in the tool, and I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer as well. So we'd love to have you reach out to us if needed. Answer any questions. A lot of times when we go through these sessions, it's a little bit hard to, there's a lot to digest. You may be taking notes. This session is also recorded, so if you need to, you can reach out to us at info@ppmworks.com and request the recording. We would be happy to share that with you. Also, if you have any questions, I know that it's easy to try and digest everything, but after today's session, we're hoping that you dive in and you actually try and use the tool. And at that time, you might realize that you have a few more questions. Feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer those questions for you. So our learning objectives, we want to, at the end of today's webinar, we want you to understand how resource engagements are going to help you communicate with your resource managers and the project managers. So at the end of the session, you should be able to create a new engagement. You're going to select how to calculate your resource utilization. I'll show you where that is and what that means. And also how resource managers accept, reject, and edit engagements. And then we'll also monitor those engagements. So I'll show you how to do all those things at the end of today's session, and you should be able to jump right in and get started. All right, so let's talk about what these are and why they're important. All right, so resource engagements are now available in Project Online and Project Server 2016. The one caveat to this, though, is that you must have Project Professional 2016. So if you have Project Pro 2013, you will need to upgrade and download Project Professional 2016. You won't be able to create the engagement from 2013. Now, if you're joining the call and you're thinking, well, we have Project Server 2013 and Project 2013. You can still use what's called resource plans, and I'll talk about those when we get into the actual demo. But you'll still have the ability to create a resource plan, which is similar. That's where engagements came from, but a little bit different. All right, so I'll talk to you about those. But you do need to have Project Online or Project Server 2016 and Project Professional 2016. Now, this is a visual that gives you an overview of the engagement process, or how these things are created and requested. So Resource Manager, if they have editing rights to the enterprise resource pool, they can actually flag resources as requiring approval before they can be used in a project. That can also be an administrator task if you don't have grant your resource managers that permission to edit the enterprise resource pool. But either a resource manager or an administrator can make a resource as required. What that means is when the project manager goes into a project plan and tries to assign a resource to a task, or tries to create a resource engagement, if they haven't requested this resource on their project, they're going to get an indicator in their project that's letting them know that they need approval. All right, that's not something that you don't necessarily have to use that. It's just an option that you can do that. But the project manager actually requests a resource, so they decide what resources they're going to need on their project. And this can be either generic resources, or it also could be named resources. All right, so it could be a specific person, or it could be just a skill set or a role, and they request that, and that request goes to a resource manager for approval. So now the resource manager is in the position of either approving the request. If it's a generic, they can go ahead and edit it and swap out the generic for a named person. And they also can reject it if they don't think you have the resources to staff that project. All right, so that's why this is really important when we were saying battling for resources, because what's going on typically in most organizations is you're either getting in maybe it's a monthly meeting or a weekly meeting where everyone gets in the room and battles it out for resources. So a lot of organizations might be using an Excel spreadsheet to track which resources are working on what projects and when they might be available. But that takes a lot of manual effort and a lot of updating and a lot of communication back and forth between the project manager and the resource manager. And Microsoft recognized that that communication probably isn't really taking place. All right, so a lot of times project managers are just kind of willy-nilly assigning resources to projects because they have no idea what everybody's working on and who's doing what. But they know they want that person on their project. So at any rate, this tool was designed, or this new feature that was released back in, I think it was the fall of 2016, it was released for Project Server again, or Project Online, was designed to increase communication. So the project manager now knows if the resource requires approval, gets an alert in their project if they're not paying attention to that process, and they also, again, request the resource to their resource manager, where the resource manager now has the power or the ability to determine whether to honor that request or whether to modify it. All right. Okay, so Project 2016, again, must be installed, so you need to have that. So that's something you may need to reach out to your IT department. I'm not sure if everyone on the call is able to download Project themselves. A lot of organizations lock that down. All right, so you do need to have Project Professional 2016. All right, so how are resource engagements going to help that battle, right? How are we going to eliminate the arguing and the fighting and the, um, what goes on? So maybe you actually prioritize your projects. So the projects with the higher priority or higher ranking are those that are staffed first. Quite possibly you're doing that already. Or maybe, again, it's just whoever yells the loudest is the one that gets all the resources. All right, so why would you even consider using resource engagements? Well, or how do you calculate your utilization? So if you're new to Project Online or Project Server, this whole concept of enterprise resources is going to be brand new. Enterprise resources are resources that are added to your enterprise resource pool, and that gives everybody visibility across the organization on who's doing what. All right, so some organizations or maybe even just, it may vary from project to project manager within an organization. Some project managers don't like to get into the granularity of, I want to create a detailed work breakdown structure with tasks and I want to assign resources to specific tasks. They might just want to build a team for a project and just tell me, how much effort you've spent or what your rate of percent completion is for these particular milestones. So it really varies from either maybe the PMO has established a process and how you're going to manage projects, or maybe the project manager themselves is deciding. So you can have a top-down in planning, which would be the scenario one. And top-down planning is when you are doing very high level. I have this project idea. It needs to be vetted. It might not even be approved. So let me just go ahead and scope it. Let me go ahead and give my PMO my resource requirements for this particular project, the estimated cost, the rate of return, things like that you might be using when you fill out a project charter. And because I don't know whether it's going to be approved, I'm not going to go ahead and build out my schedule just yet and assign tasks at the two resources. So what you can do is say, okay, I have this project idea. This is what it's going to cost. It's going to start in June and it's going to run through the end of December. And I'm going to need 2 analysts, a developer, a project manager, etc. Or you could even name the people if you know the specific resources that you want to use. And I'm going to utilize these folks for 25% the first few months, and we're going to ramp up to 50%, and then we're going to go back down to 25% for the remainder of the 3 months of the project. All right, that's more of a top-down planning. That's just saying, I have a project that's going to start at this time, it's going to end at this time, and these are the skill sets or the name people that I need, and this is the utilization or how I plan on utilizing them over the course of this project. All right, so that's your top-down estimating. Your bottom-up, which is scenario 2, is I do have a project schedule. I do have my task details documented in this schedule. I do know the resources that I want to use, and I've gone ahead and I've assigned them to tasks in the project. So I want to plan from the bottom up. So when I look at resource utilization, I want to see the specific tasks and the effort or the duration of those tasks, and I want to see what those resources are working on. So that is more of a bottom up planning. So in that case, you can use your actual project plan or your schedule to calculate resource utilization. When you're doing that top-down planning, that's when you're going to want to use resource engagements, all right? And then scenario 3, you might have detailed information for the first few months, but maybe your scope isn't very clear in phases that are further out. Maybe the first 3 phases you've nailed down, but phases 4, 5, and 6 you're just not sure of. That's when you can calculate utilization of your resources into a specific date. So it's kind of it's a combination of both. It's saying, look at my project schedule through a specific date and time, and then switch to resource engagements where I'm just telling you, I need these people for 25% over the next few months. All right, so that is calculating resource utilization. It's telling Project Server how you're going to utilize resources. So from a planning and a perspective, we can see which resources have been committed to projects, how we're anticipating using them, a utilization, their utilization, and being able to determine whether we have enough resources to do the projects. All right, so it really kind of removes all the pet projects and the one that screams the loudest, etc., and it really kind of shows you, okay, this is where this is how we're going to take a look and see whether we have the resources to even do these projects. We realize this might be a very important project, but guess what, folks? We don't have enough resources to do it. All right, so where you set this resource utilization, and I'll show you this in the tool in just a moment, is it's actually done in Project Professional. So this is why you need to have Project Pro 2016 installed, because you need to go ahead into your project information dialog box, and there's a new checkbox or a new drop-down that you tell the project to calculate the resource utilization from. It's either going to be from your project plan, from resource engagements, or from the project plan up until a specific point in time. So I'll show you that. When you change the utilization to calculate from the engagements, it is just looking at your estimated utilization for your resources over a given period of time. And that's where you can then send that to the resource manager where they can improve it. All right. The beauty of a resource engagement is that it does not matter if you have tasks in your project plan. It's not looking at the specific tasks. So let me show you what that means here. I have a project, a blank project that's open. So let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger here. All right, so I've gone ahead and opened a project to get started. This is a brand new project, so it has not been published yet, which is important because we're going to need to do that in just a moment. But if I wanted to go ahead and create a resource engagement for my project, there's a few things that I want to do. Number one, I'll show you where that utilization is calculated from. So in that project information dialog box, you'll see here, I have to publish it first. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry about that. So let me go ahead. Let me save my project. This is brand new, so I haven't saved it yet. So I'm going to say resource. Whoops. That would be nice if I could spell correctly. Engagements. Demo. Now I'm going to say webinar. Let's see. Hopefully I haven't used this name. So I can go ahead and click save here. All right, perfect. That name wasn't already taken in my demo environment. So now it's going to go ahead and save. I'm waiting for the save to get to 100% complete. And then I'm going to go ahead and publish this project. I'm going to go ahead and publish it, but note, I'm in a Gantt view. Do not have any tasks in this project just yet. And that's fine. I don't need that. I actually have added the publish to my quick access toolbar. So I'll go ahead and do that. All right, so it's going to go ahead and publish my project. It doesn't matter, again, that I don't have any tasks in here. Once I've gone ahead and published this project, we'll see in a moment, got to pay attention down here, that when I go into my project information dialog box, I'll now be able to tell project how to calculate my resource utilization. So since I don't have tasks, and I'm not going to do that in today's session, I'm going to go ahead and calculate. You'll see how this checkbox is now here. It wasn't here a moment ago. It went from schedule from down to enterprise custom fields. I'm going to change it. It does default to project plan. So I am actually going to change it to engagements. All right. And the reason why I'm doing that is because, again, I don't have any tasks in this project. This may be, this project may need to go through an approval process. So I'm not going to calculate from resource assignments because there are no assignments. All right. I don't need to build out this detailed project schedule to be able to take advantage of these engagements. All right. So now from here, if I go ahead and select view, you'll see that I have a view called resource plan. All right. So I mentioned resource plans earlier. If you have Project Server 2013, you may still be using resource plans. This is a little bit different because we're creating these in Project Professional. These can only be created in Project Professional. You can't create an engagement if you're a project manager from, you can't create an engagement in Resource Center. It has to happen here. So a little bit different process here, but the same sort of concept where you're just requesting or booking resources based on a skill set or the named resource or over a given period of time. So this is the resource plan view. You'll see here that there's no one listed just yet, because the first step that I actually have to do is I need to build my team. So I'm going to go ahead and build my team from the enterprise. Again, I am connected to my Project Online environment. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to grab some of my buddies. And let's see, I'll grab Cindy. I'll grab myself. And I'm going to grab Jenny too. All right. And I'll go ahead and add us. All right. So I'm adding my 3 resources here. So now you'll see that I have all 3 of our names listed here. So remember again that I don't have any tasks in this project, and that's fine. I don't need those. I don't need tasks, because the benefit of having or creating an engagement is, again, I'm just telling the resource manager that I need Cindy, I need Jenny, and I need myself over, let's say, the next 3 months. It'll be a short, quick project, right? And I'm only going to utilize us at a given percentage or a given number of hours per month, all right? The engagements are built upon a project plan. They are not connected to the tasks in the project plan, all right? So they're not concerned with what tasks Laura is working on and the actual effort to complete those tasks, all right? And I've told project not to look at tasks in this particular project, to only calculate my utilization based on the engagement, all right? So let's go ahead and let's create an engagement from here, and let's see if I can, this thing is, there we go. My Zoom webinar was in the way there. I couldn't get to my engagements tab. All right, so I've gone ahead and clicked on this engagements. Now again, if you're not in Project Pro 2016, you're not going to see this. All right, so I've highlighted myself, and I've selected the engagements tab on my ribbon, and you'll see here that I'm able to add an engagement. Now, if you create a blank project and you haven't yet published the project, all of this will be grayed out. You must publish the project before you can create an engagement. And that's because this is going to be sent directly to Resource Center from my open project here. So if it's not a published project, we haven't made that connection yet, right? So you wouldn't see your project in Project Center if it has not been published yet. So we have to establish that connection. So here we go. Now I do have to do these one by one, a little bit different from the resource plan where you add everybody to your team and then you can fill down. So I have to one by one create these. So I also could put in a description or a comment. So I'm going to say MCT is needed, and I'm going to give it a start date. I'll go ahead and start at the beginning of the month. This way it looks nice and even, and I'll go ahead and go through for July. I'll go through just to the end of July. I'm going to make this pretty easy. I'm going to say that I only need myself at 50%. Please, I'll make the comments a little bit different so you can see where these are when we put on our resource manager hat. Right now I'm a project manager creating a brand new project, and I want to communicate to my resource manager what resources I need. So please assign a Microsoft certified trainer to this project. Okay, so I'll go ahead, I'll click on OK, and now you'll see that the time phase grid over here is populated. Now I could right click on this, and I could also, if I wanted to, instead of using a percentage, I could also use hours. So if I wanted to say I only need someone for 20 hours a week for the next month, maybe it goes up, etc. I can do that from here. And I can also come in here and say maybe at the last month, we are going to be training everybody right before go live, so I'll need her at 100%. I can go ahead and modify the utilization contour directly in this grid. All right, so now if I go to Jenny, I can do the same thing. I can add an engagement for Jenny. I don't have to give a description or comments. I just wanted to show you how those appear. All right, now I can also just give a start and finish date if I wanted to. And let's say I only need Jenny. I think it goes down to 0, so let me do 25% for Jenny. Again, I could have done work, and then I could have put in the number of hours. So whichever one you prefer. Since I did the last one in units, I'll stick with units. I'm going to select OK here. So now what I could do, though, is if her work contour is consistent across, trying to grab that little, there we go. I can bring that over, all right, and populate Jenny. So I can fill down or fill across when I'm ready. So let me go ahead and add an engagement for Cindy. I'm also going to utilize Cindy at 25% as well. I'll select OK. Oh, I didn't put in a start date for Cindy. All right, let me go here. Let's do that. And then I'm going to drag hers across too. All right. So I do have to create them individually. There's no way around that. But I could fill across or fill down to make it a little bit quicker if I needed to. All right, so this is the very first step. As a project manager, communicating to my resource manager who I need on this project and the time frame that I need them in. All right, so you'll see here there is an engagement status column. Right now it says draft. All right, all 3 of these say draft. These will stay as draft until I'm ready to submit those. All right, so you'll see that there is a submit button up here. So I can either submit one or all. I'm going to go ahead and submit all of them. I'm ready to go. So we'll see that this engagement status is going to change from draft to proposed. All right, so now it says proposed. So I can also see down here submit completed successfully. Sorry, can't talk this morning. All right, so we know that that has been submitted successfully, and now it has changed from draft to proposed. So as the project manager, I know my job is done for now. I know that I have now requested these resources. This request, since I've published this project and I am connected to my Project Online environment, will get submitted to my resource manager for approval. All right, so let me go back here for a moment and let's go to Resource Center. And now I'm going to take a moment and I am going to change gears. All right, so I said as the project manager, I've done what I needed to do right now. So now I'm going to change hats, and now I'm going to become the resource manager. All right, so by becoming the resource manager, I'll show you what this resource request looks like from the manager's perspective. All right, so you can see here that I'm in a resource center view. All right, so I have resources selected here, so I'm in Resource Center. This particular view happens to be grouped by role. All right, so we've done that as an administrator. I've gone in and created some helpful views. We also have views that group resources by resource manager. All right, the reason why I'm pointing this out is if I submit a request for a tester and I have a choice between Cindy and Jenny, but Cindy is overallocated, it would be nice to see who else has that skill set very quickly. So resource managers are going to want some custom views here in Resource Center just to improve their approval process. The other thing I could do also is resources by resource manager. Now I just went in and selected a few resources, so I may not actually see, I may not have the resources that I've selected. I might not even be their manager, but that's okay. For demonstration purposes, we'll be good. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the resources that I've selected over here. I always like to have this checkbox selected. If you're not familiar with this, if you select that, it always shows who's been selected. And I'm actually going to go in And I'm just going to go to all resources so I can find, I don't want to group it. Let me get rid of my no group there. And I am going to select those, Jenny, Cindy, and myself. I need to select the resources before I come in order to view the engagement request. All right, so I've selected Jenny, myself, and Cindy. So assuming I'm the resource manager, I may just have everybody that I manage selected so that I can view from time to time a resource request. I also can, which is pretty neat, let me show you this, as a resource manager, let me scroll down, I can actually, there we go, I can actually come in here under Manage My Release Resources, Alerts, and Reminders. When this page loads, if it's going to load here, there we go. If I scroll down, you'll see that there's a new option for resource managers. I can set a reminder. So what I could do is I would subscribe to certain resources that I want to be alerted when a pending request is out there, and I get an email alert. And this is set to every day. I could change that. Maybe I just want it to be once a week, or maybe I am going in every day and looking at that. So this is pretty nice. If you're a resource manager, you're going to want this. The reason why this is even visible here on this particular page, Manage My Resource Requests and Reminders, is because in our demo environment, we have alerts and reminders turned on. If you don't have alerts and reminders turned on, you're not going to receive this alert either. All right, so it's a setting in server settings that your administrators have either turned on or maybe have left off. So if you receive email alerts when you get a new task assignment or when resources updated tasks in your projects, if you're a project manager, you do have alerts and reminders turned on. All right, so let me scroll up. All right, I can see my selected resources here. So I'm going to go over to resource requests so we can take a look at this. All right, so I can come over here. All right, and now I see the 3 resources that I've selected, and only those 3. I might have more resource requests out there, but since I only selected Cindy, Jenny, and myself, those are the only ones that I'm going to see here. All right, so you can see my resource engagements webinar, right? There we go. That particular project is visible here. All right, so I do see that. I do see my description that I typed in. I don't see the comments here in this view, so I wanted to show you that. I can go to see the detailed comments by editing this particular request here. All right, so you'll see that they're all proposed just like they were in the project. This one here has been committed because this is a previous request that I went in and approved. So once I've approved them, they go from proposed to committed. So now I can see just my proposed, I can focus on my proposed request. So what I'll do here is I'm going to select these. And remember, I don't even have any tasks in my project, right? I don't even know what I am, what these people are working on, but that's okay. I just know that if I scroll down a bit and scroll over, I know that they will need these resources over this course of time, and this is the utilization, the committed units. And once I go ahead and accept, I'm committing those resources to that project plan and agreeing with the project manager's request there. So I can come up here and I can accept. I could reject as well. And then the project manager would see that the engagement was rejected in their project. So I'll go ahead and I'll accept this. All right, and you'll see it's working on it. And we'll see this change from proposed to committed in just a moment. And I could provide a comment if I wanted to. All right, they're going to know that anyway, but I can put a comment in there so they can see that. All right, so that'll load in just a moment. So now we see that these resources are committed. All right, and now if I wanted to see those additional comments, I can come in here and I can edit this by selecting Edit Engagement. All right, so we see, here we go. So I could come in here and I could say, and this is where I would see the additional comments. Please assign a Microsoft certified trainer to this project. It has a date stamp, etc. So when I come up here, I can, I could, if I wanted to, switch this resource out, but I'm only going to be able to replace them with the other two resources that I've already selected. So if I decide that Laura is not available to work on this project and I want to replace her, I would need to cancel here. I'd need to go back to Resource Center. And then let's see if I group it by role. Let me just see if we do have another trainer. Let's just see what we have in here. May or may not. All right, so it looks like Anthony is a trainer as well. So I can select Anthony. And I can go back to my resource requests again. And we'll wait for this to load in a moment. Oh, did I go back and do everybody? I think I did. Make sure I have everybody on here. No, I don't. I have to go back and grab. All right, let me go to all resources so I can quickly locate everybody. I don't want the role. No group. All right, let me come in here, grab Cindy again, grab Jenny, and grab myself. All right. Oh, and Anthony. I need Anthony. All right, let's grab him. Okay, now let's go back to resource requests. So now, if I decide that I do not want to assign Laura to this particular project, I can actually, as a resource manager, click this drop down and select Anthony instead. So I can switch out Anthony for Laura. All right, so the resource manager does have the ability to do that. So that's why those views grouped by role are so good, because if you have a generic skill set and you want to quickly just replace the trainer with another trainer, with a named person, you can quickly select all the trainers and then determine which one has the most availability. All right, so I can go ahead and select Anthony here, and I can go ahead and accept this now. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and accept this so we can see what this looks like in the project. And I can say, Laura does not have availability during this time. All right, click OK. All right, so here we go. So now I have another committed resource on my project. All right, so the project manager, the resource manager has the ability to accept, reject right from here. They also could, let's say we have a quick meeting and I say, hey, you know what? Would you mind? I need another resource that I didn't request. Well, the resource manager can create an engagement for the project manager. They don't have to necessarily receive a request. Again, it's going to be the resources that we see here. So I could go ahead and say, let's see, it's my demo. Did I do demo? No, I did resource engagements. Can remember what, there we go. All right, description if I need to, maybe not, but maybe we need some training after July. So I'm available in the month of August. So we could do it that way. So we could say, you can have Anthony for the month of July, but Laura's available at 100% in the month of August. And go ahead and accept this. All right, and you'll see that this automatically becomes a committed engagement. All right, so here's the webinar. So you'll see it's committed. It doesn't need to go through an approval process. In other words, it doesn't display as proposed because I'm the resource manager creating it. So I'm committing Laura for the month of August to that particular project. All right, so let's take a look and see what that looks like in the project plan. And what I'll do is I'm going to refresh. So my project's still open. I did not close it, check it in. I didn't need to publish it again, but I am going to go ahead and select refresh. All right, and now you'll see how my screen changes. I see that these resources are now committed, and I do see that I have Anthony here as well. All right, so Laura is now for the month of August, and I have Anthony instead of Laura for the month of, for these 3 months. All right, so Anthony was switched out for May, June, July, and Laura is now assigned in August. So very easy for the project manager to see this. Now, maybe they weren't in this view, maybe they were in a Gantt chart view, and maybe they were building out a WBS or adding tasks. They will see this banner. All right, so when new resources have been committed to the project, you'll see this yellow banner alerting you to that. So if I had closed my project and checked it back in, and I'm the project manager and I open my project, this yellow banner will appear at the very top of my project when I open it, letting me know that engagements have been committed or edited in my project plan. So if I go ahead and select this, it would bring me directly to this resource plan view where I can see that. All right, so again, it's designed to improve the communication and eliminate the battles that typically occur between the project manager and the resource manager. All right, so you can monitor your engagements directly from your project by refreshing. When you open or close your project and reopen it, you'll see a yellow banner alerting you to the fact that engagements have been updated. All right, so it's pretty clear. All right, now let me go back here though for a moment. Let me just minimize this guy. All right, so as a resource manager, you might be wondering, well, how do these resource managers even know what these resources are working on? So I came here, showed you what the accept, reject, edit looks like. Well, this is a capacity planning view, and let me get out of the heat map for a moment. And you can see there are utilization views. So I can take a look at those resources. And again, it's helpful if maybe I need a trainer, and there's 5 available trainers, but I'm not sure which one's available. I can select all 5 and come to a capacity view. This is the capacity line, so we see everybody's way below the capacity line. It would also help if I change my time scale up here. So let me do that. Let me change my date range. So we're actually looking at, what did I say? Let's go through May 1st through, I'll do August since I added myself on there. Come on, one more. There we go. All right, so there we go. Click on OK. All right, so now the information's relevant, right, for the time period of my project. And I can see the capacity line, so I know these resources are underutilized. And if I scroll down, I see some details down here. So I see Anthony's availability and his capacity. I also see project assignments, if there's assignments out there. All right, now I also, remember, I don't have project assignments for my project. I have resource engagement. So if we also have assignments out there, you'll see those listed here too. So if I'm assigned to tasks within projects during that given time period, I'd be able to see what I'm working on as well. All right, so again, this is a capacity view. This is resource utilization. I could also see remaining availability, which is a neat and helpful view. It'll show me if there is any remaining availability. And in this case, it looks like we do. These numbers are different from resource to resource. That's because it depends on your utilization settings in the enterprise. If everyone's 100%, you'd be able to see that. If people are over 100%, which is in this case, these need to be adjusted a bit. Any rate, if you're 100%, it'll look at 40 hours a week over 4 weeks, and that would be your availability. But Cindy might not be 100%, or Jenny might be less than 100%. It also looks into scheduled days off, time off, and it also takes into account if you're using timesheets and you've submitted vacation time on a future timesheet. All right, so it also knows that your availability or capacity are adjusted based on that as well, okay? All right, so resource managers can look at these views as well as project managers. Project managers can select the resources that they want to assign or request in their projects, and they can come to any of these views to take a look and see who may have more availability. All right, so Anthony doesn't have any project assignments, so if I'm looking for a trainer, he's probably my guy, right? Whereas other resources don't really have, may be overutilized. All right, you also can take a look at a heat map. Now this one, I should probably go to my my slides to show you, because okay, well, Anthony actually for this month looks like he's in the red. So he is being overutilized during this time period. Or what it's actually telling you is it's viewing the discrepancies between the resource capacity and the committed engagements. All right, so anybody that's in blue is being underutilized. Green is typically perfectly utilized, which means you want to get as close to zero as possible. So you always want, you don't want resources to have too much bench time, so you don't want them to be underutilized, and you certainly don't want them to be overutilized. All right, so red is letting you know there's a discrepancy between their capacity and what you've committed them to. So as a resource manager, I would know, okay, so we said his capacity was one thing, but we're committing him at a different rate. So something's wrong here. All right, so they can actually come to this view and take a look at it. And let me go ahead and grab this guy here and show this. All right, so let me just show you. What that looks like here. All right, so here's another example where it actually does have some green in here. All right, so blue, again, the resources engaged time is significantly lower than the resources overall capacity. All right, so it should be given more work. Green is roughly the same as the resources overall capacity, so they're being properly utilized. Red is when the engaged time is significantly higher than the resources overall capacity. So that's letting you know that, you know, this person has a specific capacity, but you're committing them to engagements above and beyond what their capacity is. All right, so you need to maybe swap those people out. So even though I thought Anthony may have been a good fit for that, not necessarily, right? Because it looks like he's got a lot going on. All right, okay, so resource managers can create engagements, which I just showed you. All right. The PM can review those engagements by refreshing that page. All right. So let me just take a moment to pause. We're going to go ahead and answer some questions. Sorry, I think I neglected to say that at the beginning. I typically leave the questions for the end, and then I check the Q&A. So if you do have any questions about what we just covered, go ahead and type in your questions. I do realize too that you may think of these questions when you're in the tool a little bit later, working in there. So please go ahead and you can email us at info@ppmworks.com. That's also where you would request the recording of today's webinar. So feel free to go ahead and do that. Also, if you want to subscribe or check out our blogs, please go to our website. You can also go directly to http://blogs.ppmworks.com to check out our blogs. We do update information regularly. So, and also please feel free to link in with me. Again, I'm Laura Crawford. All right, so look me up on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to connect with you.